We bought the freshest ingredients. We furnished the kitchen with the latest state-of-the-art appliances and the most well-designed countertops. We let Scott Dixon cook again! Welcome back to Motorsport 101.
Whose bright idea was that? Really? Like, we're doing this again. Like, we're gonna have Scott Dixon make it close, like Dash at the end of the Incredibles movie. Clearly, that was the plan. Welcome to episode 467 of Motorsport 101. I'm your friendly neighborhood host, Dre Harrison, and we are talking about IndyCar at Gateway in this episode, the third to last round of the IndyCar Championship. We've got two more races between that and the end of the year. We've got Portland this upcoming weekend, and then we've got Monterey for the sake of the season finale for the last time as season finale in a couple of weeks' time. But no, we are not coronating Alex Palou as IndyCar Series champion just yet. It's not over until Scott Dixon says it's over. Yeah. We're going to try and talk about a podcast where Scott Dixon won an oval race by 22 seconds. As you do.
We're really bringing it back to the open chassis days, huh?
We are, yeah. As Zoe in our chat quite rightly says, Scott Dixon remembered that he was Scott Dixon. It's a problem. It's a problem that we've all had to deal with at some point with our IndyCar careers, and this was another example of such. Trying to break down the post-mortem of all of this, first of all, is Cam Buckley. How's it going, man?
Actually back for an IndyCar show for once in my life. Feels like I haven't been on one of these in like a month.
Don't worry, you haven't missed much. Alex Palou is still setting the bar so high.
Scott Dixon cooked, big stack of pancakes, real maple syrup. And yet, Alex Palou didn't come to dinner because he merely had his second worst result of the year in seventh.
Mm-hmm.
So now Dixon basically needs to win out for the rest of the year to still have a chance at the title.
Good luck with that. And of course, as you probably can tell by now, RJ O'Connor is also with us. Hello, RJ.
I was actually talking with my editor, Keith Valentine of RaceFans.net, sending in my report of the race afterwards. And as we're going through the edits, he was like, hang on a minute. You said that most of the other contenders made 4 stops. You said 5 stops instead of 4 stops. Are you sure it wasn't 4 stops? I'm like, yeah. There's 5 stops for everybody else. And Scott Dixon made it this race on 3 stops and won it by 22 seconds.
The man sweats fuel. Check his fire suit.
the man's like when he walks, he like emits like tire rubber.
That is a horrified visual.
His dead skin cells turn into Firestone rubber.
I don't know how to follow that up. That's the end of the show. Places you can find us.
Yeah. Motorsport101.com. That's the website. By the time this goes out, there'll be a DRR on this IndyCar race. Do check that out if you haven't already. If you want to follow us on X, fuck that name. If you want to follow
Twitter.
Us on X Twitter, it's like Xtina only. It sounds a lot nicer.
If you want to beat our ass in the community notes.
Yes, you can. Like F1 did earlier today because they can't count days, apparently. You can follow us at Dre_WTF1, at CBuckley917, and at RJ O'Connell. You got us on Instagram and Motorsport101pod as well. And if you're really lucky, you can back us on Patreon, patreon.com/Motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of our episodes normally, but it's just $1 for the month of August, including this and the F1 episode that you're probably listening to right now if you back us on there as it is. So, yeah, if this is the last episode that'll be under $1 a month, get on board. There's no better time to be a Patreon backer than right now. If you want
to give us money, we can do cool stuff with it.
Exactly, and if you back us at the $10 level, you can listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded, as what Zoe and Jason are doing right now. So thanks, shout out to them in the chat as ever. Hope you guys enjoy the show. let's get into IndyCar's 2023 500 at Gateway.
Do you think that that Formula One went to the bodybuilding.com forums and asked, so if we work out our social media accounts 4 times a week, is that working out every other day?
Is it dangerous? I'm not sure.
Title implications. Sort of. Josef Newgarden, the man looking for a clean sweep of the oval races on the season, and the 6th straight win on the discipline, crashed while running a net third, ran up in the marbles, ran up into the outside wall while trying to fight Pato O'Ward. With it, his title fight is over. And it left the door open for Scott Dixon to once again fuel save his way from a 4-stopper to a 3-stopper, dominating Gateway to win by nearly an entire lap over Pato and David Malukas. Back on the podium, David Malukas.
Back-to-back years at Gateway.
With Palou finishing the aforementioned 7th, it is now a 2-man title fight and a 74-point swing between the chip cars with 2 rounds left. Is it still pullover? Because it feels like it's still pullover.
I would like to congratulate Dre on correctly predicting the funny thing that some had figured would happen when IndyCar announced that the Indianapolis 500 would no longer be a double points race. At a time when one of his drivers could potentially win the Indianapolis 500 and maybe use those additional points to bolster or at least keep their championship hopes alive, they don't get it.
I tried to warn you, RJ O'Connell. I tried to warn you that I thought, why would Penske no longer make their flagship round double points? They thought they were going to stink at the 500 this year, and it turns out they won the fucking thing. And now it's come back to bite them because Josef would look a lot healthier with an extra 50 points right about now.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time...
realistically needed an extra 100.
I would say, like... Palou still finished 4th. He would have got a double points there, too.
Oh, yeah.
It really wouldn't have helped him that much.
Yeah.
No, but it is funny. It is very funny in this columnist's opinion. It's Jova in Josef's case, and I would feel bad for Josef, but he won the Borg Warner, so who gives a shit, really?
Yeah, like the last missing piece of his trophy cabinet is it's complete now, you know.
He's not sitting to Ashley and saying, "Nah, not tonight, darling. I've only got this replica of the Borg Warner next to me on the bedpost." I mean,
I don't know. You didn't see the last 2 races. He's been big mad post race.
Oh yeah.
I mean, could you blame him? Like 2 straight crashes. This one was just like, okay, it bucketed down rain Saturday when we were supposed to have qualifying, and all that rubber's just washed away. And the highline practice didn't work. So the only way you were making moves is, 1, if you were just getting the start on alternate tires, or 2, if you were making moves in the pits. Josef Newgarden washes out into the marbles once, and that's all it takes for his chances of sweeping all the ovals to end. And that's all it takes for him to be mathematically, because spiritually I thought he was eliminated from title contention about a month ago. Now it is mathematically over, and that means Scott Dixon is the only man that can catch Alex Palou in the standings. And
Chip Ganassi are guaranteed a 1-2 finish in the championship. Christ. It's just a matter of what order. And there's a good chance 10 comes before 9 for the first time ever.
Yeah, Scott needs to score a lot of points. And these next 2 tracks... Palou's a bit good at them.
Well, he says, Dario era. Yeah, okay, you get my point.
2 years ago.
Zoe, it was a decade ago.
Shut up. Anyway.
It was quite literally a decade ago.
No, look,
years ago when Alex Palou won his title in the 10 car.
Oh, I'm referring to Zoe with Dario era.
However, what I will say is that, like, for Josef, it must be a little bit infuriating knowing this is the 4th year in a row you've come so close to winning the title and it's not quite worked out.
Yeah, and this time it was just a matter of like
just got blown out.
The road and street course performance was not good enough. If you've only watched IndyCar this season, you might think that Josef Newgarden probably came out of the NASCAR circuit with like marginal road and street course experience. May I remind everybody that last year he won a $1 million bonus specifically for winning on all 3 disciplines of track that IndyCar visits.
Yeah.
Well, every one of the last 4 years, it's been one critical thing missing, whether it's a certain subtype of track, the Indy 500 reeking for Penske the last 3 years, or more often than not, reliability. And that's has popped up a little bit this year as well, where he's been on race winning positions and it just hasn't gone his way, or something's broken. I can't say I feel especially bad for him this time, given the shit he pulled with Pato O'Ward.
That was naughty.
Because one of these days, one of those hip checks up into the marbles is going to cost him. And I would not be trying that on the guy who made it his life mission to crash into half the field this year.
Yeah, that is the one person I would not be gambling a hip check with, and that's Pato O'Ward, the man who has sent it on 3 separate occasions this season and pretty much wrecked any hope of a title campaign this year.
Pato O'Ward finished second. He is single-handedly trying his best to keep McLaren from going winless.
Well, it's good of him to do that after he ensured that their season would be a disaster.
Fun fact, it's the 4th time Pato O'Ward has finished second in a race this season. 4 of them. 7 podiums total. 4 of them second-place finishes.
The problem is most of the races that aren't podiums are DNFs.
Yeah, it's been swings and roundabouts here for Pato. And look, I don't think it's a coincidence. Look, I've said it before. I think I'm fair in saying Josef Newgarden and Pato O'Ward are the 2 best oval drivers in this series. They are constantly up the front.
Certainly short ovals. There is no question.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Josef was going for a season oval sweep, which is absolutely bonkers to even
unheard of.
Like we're in a very. I think only 2 people have ever won 6 oval races in a row in IndyCar. Period. One of
them is new Penske Technical Alliance customer AJ Foyt II.
Yeah, and if you're tying a Foyt record, chances are you're pretty good.
Yeah, as long as it's not the team.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, unfortunate for Josef. It's a shame. I do admire his ability on short ovals. He's a joy to watch on them when he's not hip checking people. But yeah, he's incredible around that discipline. But again, one more time for Scott Dixon. Jesus Christ.
Scott Dixon
he has a way of doing this.
He started 16th after going over his pool of 4 engines. He qualified fine, but not really that great, so he gets demoted from 7th to 16th on the grid, and then decides, you know what? This won't be a factor. I will simply extend...
I will drive with no fuel. It will be no factor.
I will squeeze every ounce of Shell renewable fuel out of the car that's fuel tank that I can. Yeah. I will extend the life of my Firestone tires for as long as I possibly can, and I will clown on each and every one of these foods.
Did my dude have an army of microscopic benders recalibrating the molecules in his fuel tank into more fuel?
Must have done, because he came in, I think it was about lap 130 when the second caution came out.
Yeah, I thought at that point he was cooked.
Yeah, for Takuma Sato hitting the wall a second time and wrecking his car.
Taku, bud. I love you. I appreciate
Sato.
you, but I think Takuma Sato might be over. It might be Sato over.
Oh,
see, it was extra struggle-licious this Sunday.
I think this was not a good race for him. I think he may be back at least in the 500 next year.
Sure.
Scott Dixon was dead to rights when that caution came out because he was one of the few people that hadn't come into pit, and then he comes in as expected, and so does everybody else that's on the lead lap to top off.
Right, 130 It's a 260 lap race, so he's at precisely halfway. No one had even attempted a 65 lap stint, which is what you would roughly need, 65 laps, to be able to stretch a stint long enough to go once more for the rest of the race. Everybody thought it was going to be a 4-stop race, without question. Turns out Dixon went 70 laps on his third stint.
Good question.
Yeah, went 70 laps on his second stint, and that was enough to bring him home for a nice, easy 64 lap final stint to bring him home. Dixon is outrageous. Like, I love that they interviewed Pato O'Ward straight after the race when he finished in second. And Pato was like, Scott Dixon did Scott Dixon things. He just said, because he said he had a radio from his crew chief saying that, oh yeah, and there's 9 guys trying to make it to the end on just one more stop. And Pato knew right there and then he was fighting for second.
It was
over.
Trying to extend it. Will Power was trying to squeeze as much as he could out of it, and even he couldn't make it work.
He had to pit with like 11 laps left.
Yeah, no one else came close. I think Kyle Kirkwood, was the last man that even got anywhere near him on that one, and even he bailed, I think, with like 9 or 10 laps to go. So, yeah, like, they tried. Dixon was the only man in the same postcode that could make this work. And
only 3 drivers finished on the lead lap in this race.
The podium runners of him, Pato, who was 22 seconds further back, and right behind him, David Malukas. And we'll talk a little bit more about him at the end of the show. But, my God, Dixon, absolutely incredible. We've let him cook 2 weekends in a row. He is still that dude. Career win number 55 for Scott Dixon in his IndyCar career. Get the full stack of pancakes and throw in the maple syrup and the chocolate chips. My man is cooking right now. It's a shame it's not going to count for much more than the runner-up spot, but we know what Dixon's like. He's going to make it interesting down the stretch. If he can even bring it to within a round, that would be an impressive task for Dixon late on.
More or less like looking at the gap. He needs 37 points.
Over Palou. Yeah.
Both races.
That's
that is
Alex Palou can just finish on the podium no matter what, and he's won the championship.
Yeah.
You remember, like, the maximum point swing you can get in an IndyCar race is 48, and that is Palou finishing dead last and getting the minimum 5 points just for showing up, and Dixon getting every bonus point while winning. Like, so realistically, I'd say even a top 12 finish from Palou in Portland will likely be enough. It's academic, especially given that Palou's road and street course pace all year has been astonishing. His average finish there has been 3. Exactly 3 all year.
This was his second worst finish of the season. He finished 7th,
and he was nowhere all day. And he just picked dudes off where he could, and was able to go 50+ laps on his final stint, hoping the rest of the race would run green. It did, and he was able to pick a few more dudes off who couldn't make it to the end, trying Dixon's free stopper.
Yeah.
And
what do we say? You win your titles on your bad days. His worst day this year was 8th. His second worst day was 7th. His third worst day was a broken front wing, and he finished 2nd.
Prepare the cup. He is likely winning it this weekend in Portland.
Filling it with fried chicken.
Which I think I'm right in saying, RJ, first time that someone's going to win the title early since reunification.
That's right. Since IndyCar reunified in 2008, no one has won it with a round in hand. The last person to do it was Sebastian Bourdais in the 2007 Champ Car World Series. And the last time that anybody did it in this series that exists now, Dan Weldon in 2005.
Yeah, he could drive a bit.
Both those dudes could drive a bit. Alex Palou can drive a bit. In the midst of all that we talked about a couple weeks ago, Alex Palou is going to win this by a canter.
Yeah. Chip Ganassi comes out of it. Chip Ganassi is guaranteed the title.
Yeah, he has won the Astor Cup. That is now official. It's just going to be a matter of which car would it be with. And you know
I
what's
think
funny?
it's just a matter of how much Alex Palou wins it by in the end.
Exactly. Will he win it around early, which is quite likely. He would have to. He would have to lose 28 points to Dixon in Portland, and unless Palou gets taken out somewhere, that's not happening. So yeah, prepare the cup. Is what I would say for Portland this weekend. It's likely going to be a Palou coronation.
Prepare the broiler.
Oh yeah, we're cooking some fried chicken up in here.
Prepare the Magnums on ice for Dixon for these back-to-back Ws
and the Trojans.
And the stag beer.
Stag beer and Trojans. What's up, Marshall? But you know something that Chip Ganassi did lose this weekend? He lost Marcus Ericsson.
It's a bit of a surprise, this one.
Yeah,
it was officially confirmed this past week as Marcus Ericsson was confirmed to be moving to Andretti from Chip Ganassi for 2024. While we don't know yet what seat specifically Marcus will be taking, it will inevitably set off more talk about silly season. What do we make of the move for Marcus, and what do you think will come next? Now, like I said, Marcus is out of the 8 car. We don't know if it's going to be the 28 or the 29 at Andretti yet. We'll have to wait and see. They're still waiting to see what Andretti does with its 4th seat, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I'm first and foremost, I am delighted that Marcus Ericsson is getting his bag. He's earned it. He has deserved one. And I did think it was funny that Chip was insisting that Marcus still pay for his seat. I think that was asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Marcus is more than good enough to warrant having his seat on merit. And if anything, he was a vanity option in that team, given that he is a number 3 in that setup and would be good enough to lead a team elsewhere. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, how good is Marcus Ericsson on his best days? Good enough to win the Indianapolis 500.
Should have had to.
Good enough to change the perception of him completely. Like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Marcus Ericsson in Formula One was the wrong driver in the wrong place at the wrong time for pretty much all of it. But that's not IndyCar's Marcus Ericsson. And while he does bring money with him, I think at a certain point he realized, I would like to be getting paid more than I'm paying a team for my services.
And he's realistically the best floor guy in the sport right now. If you need a top 10, he'll get you that top 10. If you need a win, he'll still probably get you that top 10. But damn it, it'll be in the top 10.
And if he does get you a win, it will usually be eventful.
Either airborne or sipping the milk or coming just short this year. I mean, he's one somewhat dodgy restart call away from being a 2-time Indy 500 champion.
You remember he won the race in St. Pete when Pat O'Ward had that plenum fire?
Yeah.
He was right there. You got to be in it to win it at the end of the day, and I know we joke that he only wins when there's a red flag, and I don't like the sneaky Swede nickname. I've never really warmed to it. One, because Lee Diffie's nicknames are generally terrible, and second of all,
none of us can be perfect.
No, and I love Lee Diffie, but the nicknames are cringe. Please stop. But I was going to say, on top of that, it was selling Marcus short about how good a driver he can be. He's a top 6 driver in this series, and he has been in that top 6 for the last 2 years. Likely will be for 3 by the time this season's said and done. He is an elite level driver in this series. If you're in the top 6 3 years running, you are very, very good to be in this series. You are worthy of being able to potentially lead a team.
Well, and I think he is exactly the right thing that Andretti Autosport needs right now.
They need a floor.
They have no floor. Their floor, unfortunately, falls into the mantle of the earth with the magma.
They need a consistent guy who can rack up points, and that's what Marcus Ericsson does better than almost anyone in the field. Because Colton Herta, again, we've all seen it. His upside is as high and as bright as anyone in this sport.
They have
100%.
3. They have 3 of the best upside guys in the series.
Oh yeah, him, Kirkwood, and Grosjean.
Conversely, Kirkwood is still raw because he's still relatively new.
Oh yeah,
Grosjean fell off a cliff after Barber.
What the hell has happened with him? Honestly.
And Colton Herta, if it keeps happening, is it a trend? Because it feels like Colton Herta every weekend should be fighting for a win, and every weekend he's 6th to 12th.
I keep thinking again and again that, like, as soon as Formula One rumors got into his head, like, he hasn't been the same driver.
But he was the same before. And he was the same last year.
But at least he was winning. He hasn't won. He hasn't won since last year.
27 straight starts without a win for Colton Herta now.
Yeah, it's like the low points of Colton are now more often. He'll stick the car on pole for you, no problem. What happens on race day
is elite.
Is another matter, and it feels like it's too much of a consistent thing to just go, oh, well, they called a bad strategy or they just got the race wrong. Because it's all three primary Andretti's. Let's not even talk about the guy in number 29.
Yeah, this is also
not worth having in that seat.
It's very fascinating what Andretti does from here, because I think we're kind of split on whether or not Andretti Autosport can handle 4 competitive full-time cars. And remember, one of these cars is co-owned by the son of the former owner of the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner IV. Get your jokes in about the form of the 2023 Yankees here aside.
We don't need to make the jokes. They are the joke.
Yeah.
Yankees lose.
Who knew that they would be so dependent upon Aaron Judge?
Everyone.
And then there's also, like, the factor of, like, what happens with DHL, because there are rumblings that apparently they're going to go somewhere else.
But by all accounts, they're gone.
Yeah. The rumors are strong. They're going to Ganassi.
And first of all, as if Ganassi needs more.
A DHL Ganassi car? Good
that's
God.
That's gonna look sweet. But I mean, you look back and it's like, it's not that Andretti are bad.
No.
It's that they're nowhere near as good as they should be.
You forget they've got 2 wins this year.
They've got 2, but both with Kirkwood. And Kirkwood has otherwise been anywhere from a little bit sloppy as a fresh driver to unlucky in the case of having a piece of his car spear a Chevy Cruze in a parking lot.
You know what's amazing as well? That Long Beach win was a 1-2-4 for Andretti that day.
The speed has not been the problem. It's been the execution across a race distance. And that is what Marcus Ericsson is about as good as anybody in this field at.
He'll be in the top 10 week in, week out if his race runs clean. They need that.
But this is also now taking Marcus out of Ganassi equipment, which I don't think we can question is the best equipment in the field right now.
100%.
They've been just monstrous. Really, since the Aeroscreen came in, they've been unbelievable. And putting him in Andretti equipment, which, again, has the speed, but maybe not the flexibility.
Yeah.
So we need to see how he adapts too.
The problem with Andretti Autosport is not that they're bad. The problem is they're good when the expectations are you are part of the traditional big 3 to be measured against Penske and Ganassi.
You have all the ingredients to be great, and they're not right now.
As I joked about them in my mid-season review, they have the recipe for a fantastic carbonara and then decided to add cream at the last minute. You don't add cream to a carbonara, you American pigs. Anyway, like, I think it's a good move for all parties. Marcus gets his bag, Andretti gets the floor guy that it badly needs, and it needs something to steady the ship, something that we've talked about Andretti lacking for the last 2 or 3 years. What I want to talk about are some of the other consequences that come alongside of it, because we've seen how some of the silly seasons piecing together. It's looking like Marcus Armstrong will be in the 11 full-time next year, which is going to be very interesting to see how he gets on with it. Like, because his road and street track face, Marcus Armstrong has got something. I think he could be one to watch for next year, certainly. Big Lundgaard vibes from him at the moment. I mean that in a good way. There's also heavy talk. They're going to have Linus Lundqvist in the 8.
Oh, my goodness. And that man has
fucked around. You fucked around and let him cook again.
What have you done, IndyCar? You gave like a very, very good Indy Next prospect a guy that ran the field over when he won that series last year, and you've put him in
equipment in the field,
and you've given him the best equipment in the field for his first full-time season.
Dude, that's crazy. We were just worried, like, is he going to make it at all? And now he could potentially end up with
the best seat in the field.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta be patient. It's like with Kirkwood last year. You know, you wait out one awful year for it, and eventually good things start to happen in Andretti. Also, can I say, like, sometimes I've been down on Romain Grosjean lately. But if you're an IndyCar team and you're evaluating options and he's not on your list of potential options because you want to go with somebody else, you are not serious.
It's very weird to me that of all like the rumors that have done the rounds about who could end up where, I've not seen Grosjean's name associated with a bunch of other teams that could really do with someone of his level of upside.
The rumors we've seen over the last day or so is that he's done. He's going to end up with no ride.
Which is crazy to me. Like, don't get me wrong, Grosjean's not been great this season. I mean, especially post-Barber, he's been awful. But there is more than enough. He's shown more than enough in the last 3 years in IndyCar for me to think that someone should take him on. I'm sorry. I don't like. This is no disrespect to anybody in Indy Next. He is a better prospect than anyone in Indy Next right now. I don't know why people are saying that Daniel Frost is a better prospect for an IndyCar seat right now, because he just isn't.
I love me some Daniel Frost. I love me some drivers from countries that don't usually get much reputation in motorsport making it up, but I have not seen enough out of Daniel Frost to think that he is going to be the leader in a team that could also potentially include Stingray Robb, who, if he was not named Stingray Robb, would be just completely forgettable.
Devlin DiFrancesco's still getting puff pieces written about him right now. You do realize this, right?
Yeah, Devlin DiFrancesco, who has been objectively awful his entire time in this sport.
Arguably the worst driver in the field, pound for pound, given the equipment he's in.
Given the incidents he's caused, given the crimes he's brought to Ryan Eric King's door.
If nothing else, we'll always have that Gallagher Grand Prix start.
Yeah, where he went from P1 to P20 on raw pace over the course of the first stint.
Again, we'll always have that Gallagher Grand Prix start.
Ooh. I'm going to have to talk about it now.
Go on.
So we did receive an update today from Simon Pagenaud that he is still suffering severe post-concussion symptoms and will not race for the remainder of this year, and as of right now, is out of contract with Meyer Shank.
He's technically, by all intents and purposes, right now a free agent. It's kind of what I was fearing. I was fearing, like Kurt Busch, there was something lingering post-concussion, because that's the vibe I got with Kurt. And you may have seen the news in the world of racing that Kurt Busch officially announced his retirement this past weekend.
And he was like dealing with like health issues, like even before the qualifying wreck that eventually ended his career. Like he was dealing with arthritis, he was dealing with gout. He was getting beat up a lot.
Yeah, for a 45-year-old man.
Yeah. Does this feel like it's the end?
I really hope not. But it's the thing with concussions. You never want to rush this. I'm thinking like
he's got a full off season now.
In a best case scenario, maybe he takes a year out, comes back in 2025, see what he's got left. Man, it's just tough.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want to. I don't enjoy any of talking about this because Simon Pagenaud is an incredible racing driver, one of the finest of the last 20 years in multiple disciplines. He's a remarkable driver, a great guy, a great interview, a sort of magnetic personality which IndyCar has thrived off of for the last 10, 15 years.
Oh yeah,
and. Again, I don't want to keep bringing up the Kurt Busch comparisons, but forgive me for making one more here because Kurt spoke about it with The Athletic this past weekend. They did a long-form interview with them, and he said ultimately it was his balance. He never got his balance back after that incident, and that's why he was never medically cleared to compete again, because it was a lingering effect of the post-concussion syndrome that he'd had, was that he basically could not get the balance back. That he'd lost like the neurological sense to be able to balance properly, and that's why he was never medically cleared to compete again, and hence why this past weekend he's had to call it a career, because he knows there's no coming back from that now, and because he's been out trying for over a year and it just hasn't come back. And again, every few minutes, as Simon said in his statement today, every few minutes different. We just have to wait and see more than anything else. And again, we all wish him the very best. We would love to see Simon Pagenaud in a car again. No questions asked. We sincerely wish him all the very best. I really hope it's not the end, because no one deserves to have their career go out like that. It's a horrendous accident.
I remember Dario Franchitti 10 years ago. Like, he took a bad hit, and that eventually ended his career.
Mm.
Yeah, well, the doctors more or less said if you take another hit like this, you won't be you anymore.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing. I mean, that's what Jorge Lorenzo was told when he...
And that's the other thing that we don't want. We don't want Simon to come back before he's 100% ready and this get worse.
Yeah.
And the only person who can decide that is him.
Exactly. And that could potentially leave the other seat open. And there's talk about maybe Felix Rosenquist in that Maya Shankar. There's talk that, and I almost dread to mention his name because Yuri Vips has been mentioned around that seat potentially as well. He got announced today that he'll be filling in.
Table that for discussion for next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as well, because he will be making his debut for RLL this weekend at Portland.
Funny how RLL shut off their replies on that post, I guess.
I need to table that for next weekend.
100%.
David Malukas. David Malukas is another hot free agent, and he had a very eventful gateway race. He bumped into Scott McLaughlin. He got into some beef with him after the race on the platform formerly known as Twitter. And he's one of the big names of free agency, and he's coming off of back-to-back gateway podiums. And, like, in terms of free agency, though, like, it's not just, like, pithy little teams that he's been mentioning. Because, remember, he announced weeks ago that he was leaving Coin. He's linked to Ganassi and McLaren.
That relationship is Labrover.
Yeah, like, it's wild when Dale Coyne is on social media, and it's like they've barely acknowledged the fact that David Malukas has just put that car on the fucking podium. It's like, oh, we got a podium with David Malukas. Here's a picture of him on the podium. Oh, and Stingray Rob was like 21st or whatever. Like, that race
barely any fanfare.
Yeah, it's super over with him and Dale Coyne. Like, it's obvious they're just riding the time until...
Hey, I know that Andretti Autosport said that they don't need drivers to bring money, but like you could do a lot if you want to keep 4 cars around. This guy is a definite upgrade over who's in the 29 car now.
I say Malukas, like the second half of this year has just been getting a little better and a little better, and like you can feel that first win coming.
It will happen eventually in the right equipment. It's not with Dale Coyne. They've been good one round here all year for the last 2 years. They're very good here. They've not been very good anywhere else. Like, all I would say is that I think Malukas is still a little raw. I think he's still a little bit green by top tier IndyCar standards. I would also say he's got a ton of upside. He's very fast in terms of raw pace. Top 6 level, I would say, comfortably, in the right circumstances. And on top of that, social media darling. Like he's
such a shit poster.
He is the definition of a shit poster, and I kind of like him for that.
He's a shit poster with like one of the funniest Spotify playlists that he's curated.
We joked about this in our Discord server after last week's recordings, where it was like, oh, his playlist on Spotify varied from multiple Frank Sinatra tracks all the way to the Coconut Mall theme from Mario Kart Wii.
He just like me for real.
Next, one thing you know, you're singing My Way, and next thing you know, he's got Metallica coming up next. It's just like...
Once again, he just like me.
And a remix of Rasputin just to put the cherry on top of this weird shit Sunday.
Oh my god! It feels like he's the perfect driver for a team like Andretti or McLaren to mold into his best self.
McLaren sniffing. There's talk.
As he should.
When is McLaren not sniffing?
Yeah,
God.
Zach Brown. You know he's already gotten a napkin contract.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's on a napkin, ready to slide across the table, ready to go. I was going to say, like, McLaren are one of the best oval teams in the field. David Malukas is an excellent oval runner. It makes sense. Bring him in if you can round off the rest of his game. If you're fed up of Felix Rosenqvist, who I think is very much a known quantity now in IndyCar. Mm-hmm. He's good, but I don't think he's going to be a top tier dude in this series, which is kind of unfortunate.
It's a shame it's not panned out like that.
Yeah, like Pato Award is rough, but he's still excellent. Alex Rossi, I think, very quietly has put together a pretty solid season in his time at McLaren this year. Maybe not having an ultimate result.
I was actually going to argue the opposite, where I'd say, like, is Rossi a known quantity too now?
I'm not sure his very best is there anymore, but I think he's still a good floor guy. Very Marcus-esque, where if it all goes to plan, he's top 10. I'm not sure.
Thing. Like, Alex Rossi was never supposed to be the floor guy 4 or 5 years ago.
No, he wasn't to be the dude. That's
not why he left. That's not why he left Andretti. He did not leave Andretti to be someone's floor guy.
But you walked away to go to Pato Awards team. What did you think was going to happen here?
Yeah, I say my bigger question is how long he lasts at McLaren. Not so much on McLaren's side, but on him. Because I feel like Rossi's eventually going to want to end up another place where he is the guy. And if you're in Pato Award's team, he's probably the guy, Messi season aside.
And this was a team that was going to bring in Alex Palou until 3 weeks ago.
They thought they were gonna, then they weren't.
Psych, you thought. I think Malukas would be a fantastic fit at McLaren. And he would also fit their brand and as an IndyCar driver like a glove if you were going to replace Felix Rosenqvist, because we all know that the Pato-Felix bromance is very much a real thing. Malukas would be a darling to have in that team. And he's an excellent oval guy. McLaren are one of the best oval teams out there. They've been contenders for the last 2 years for the 500 easily.
And he's been dragging pretty good to upper mid results out of a Dale Coyne team, which is not what they were, 6 or 7 years ago. They've been pretty friggin' mid.
And you can poke fun at the bus bros, which I always very much enjoy. That's almost certainly a plus as well. I'd certainly be here for that because, I'm saying this is a friendly message to Scott McLaughlin. Don't dish it out if you can't take it, big man, is what I would say.
I'd say that to both of the bus bros.
Because they are very good at dishing out pot shots and taking cracks at people. The moment Malukas cracks back, it's like, oh, we have beef now, motherfucker. Like it's Arby's or something, which I think is hilarious. Like McLaughlin, you don't have to have a chip on your shoulder anymore. You're one of the best drivers in IndyCar. You got a Penske seat on debut. Like, no one looks at you like an underdog anymore, big man. It's okay. Like, let Malukas cook a little bit. It's fine. He's harmless. He's like a puppy.
When willpower inevitably steps away, Penske has the opportunity to do the funniest thing imaginable.
Oh, God. Could you imagine? I did see something that was quite scary, though, in Marshall Pruitt's other season update a couple of weeks ago, where he said that if Power hangs it up, they're going to look at Carl Kirkwood as a replacement, and my eyeballs immediately rolled into my skull. I was like, no, you don't. I was like, Carl Kirkwood in a Penske? Cancel Christmas. It's over. It's Jova for everybody.
It's only just begun. My dude, it's crazy to think that, Josef Newgarden could be the old man at the team sometime soon. I don't know how I feel about that.
Josef Newgarden is still in his early 30s.
I'm still in my early 30s.
Me too. I just entered. God help us.
It's all right. I hit my mid-20s and have merely moved on to one catastrophic injury per year.
Fuck off, Buckley. I mean, in the nicest way possibly.
I got chopped in half 6 months ago.
But you all felt sorry for you for it, and that time is over. Like, let's put it this way, Cam. If you found out that I was getting my crotch ripped into, would you not take the piss out of me?
No, I wouldn't, because I know how that feels.
I don't believe you. You need more people. We have destroyed each other on several occasions.
Here's the extra people.
They don't exist. It's thin air. Just
one
like
of them can be Jordan Taylor, given he also just had that surgery.
Oh God, poor man.
Excuse me, that's future Honda factory superstar Jordan Taylor.
You're damn right. Well, in another series, Meyer Shank is probably done. Can't imagine why.
No, can't imagine why at all. Good luck to them on that one. At least they'll have more time to focus on their IndyCar seats.
They need it.
They need it. IndyCar is back this weekend at Portland. Alex Palou likely to leave Portland as two-time Astor Cup winner. Can Scott Dixon take it to the final round at Laguna Seca? Probably not, but hey, we've seen stranger things happen with Scott Dixon. Very strange.
Dare I say it? I say Palou drives the point home with a win.
Very strong chance. He's won at Portland before, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's won at Portland before. That was like the win that gave him the title the first year in 2021. But then again, Scott Dixon was caught up in a first-lap crash at Portland, drove through dust, and Marco Andretti's flipped car, and went on to win the race.
As you do.
Is this unstoppable force meets immovable object?
Hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb. Someone has to
My
lose.
bet is on the coughing baby.
I need to beat you, Scott Dixon. I need it more than anything you could imagine.
IndyCar in Portland this weekend. We'll be there for that. Again, we're going to do 3 episodes next week because we're going to have that. We're going to have F1 at Monza. And we're going to catch up a little bit on MotoGP as well. We tried to get something out of Austria. There really wasn't much to talk about besides Johann Zarco moving to Honda. And we'll talk a little bit about that in next week's episode.
In the words of Alex Marquez, good luck.
Yeah, we'll talk on that on top of that. I think it's the Catalonia Grand Prix this week, isn't it? Isn't it, Cam?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's Barcelona. That should be that's a proper track right there. If their tyres can last. Again, as Alex Marquez said, good luck to them. We'll talk about that on next week's show. Until then, I've been Dre Harrison, they've been RJ O'Connell and Cam Buckley. Until next time, sayonara.
Later, y'all. Remember this for next time. They wanted to, so they did.